Welcome to Accounting High.
We have real power and we know it. If you don't quite see the light, some other outfit will come along that is more attentive, more interesting, and more fun to play with.
Ooh.
And I could even think, like, right around this time is when Xero came to market. At that time, QuickBooks was not listening to the market, right? And Xero came and they were more fun to play with. Right now, Intuit re-steered the ship, et cetera, with QuickBooks. This is it. Like, all of you have power with these companies. And if these companies suck, you don't have to work with them. There are other businesses that will come in and fill that market need and communicate with you better.
I love that.
May I have your attention, please?
If you're listening on the show, hear what accon can do for you.
It's accounting integrators. We do two-way synchronization to download raw data, reports, consolidation reports, and do bulk upload.
Corey, you want to say a couple words? You're like the student sitting in the front row.
Where do you see people using the product more? Like, is it more in the reporting or the data side?
Why are you really using accon? To automate the process. So basically, we're helping accountants, business owners to have these numbers as accurately as possible and as fast as possible. We're managing a lot of data in both directions.
This excites me. As someone that's coming from building custom integrations, this is basically a tap into the API, pulling invoice data, location data, payment data, line items, customers, right? This becomes very powerful. It's more than just reporting.
You're limited by your imagination.
Yes, that's true.
One of the key features is not only that two-way sync for a lot of people, but I think it's just extracting raw data. It's great to have report, and those are super valuable, but where my head went to is like building some of the working papers for the balance sheet. If you can start to pull some transaction level detail or account level detail, that can automate a lot of the accounting process that many people just don't like doing.
This is a huge, huge unlock. I've been wanting to do things like this forever with access to all the data pieces. You can pull data from one client and another and compare them all.
And then you can go even further, right? It will be your dashboards. This will be your BI solutions, your presentation layers. And that will give you huge visibility, right, to the client. They don't like to dig in numbers. They want to see it colorful on the graph, your next presentation layer. People use us a lot this way, too.
Ooh. Secure, automated, easy, two-way sync. Head explosions going on. That's awesome. What can our listeners do? What can they do to sign up? Like, this is the call to action here.
They can access us through our website or go to Google Workspace Marketplace, type accon, and you will have all our products there. Install it and go ahead.
G-accon. What's the website URL? We can put that in the notes.
Accon, accon.services.
Okay.
You guys have a 14-day free trial for anyone that wants to test it out, experiment. That's what I'll be doing next.
It's absolutely free. They don't have to put any credit cards. We just want them to be comfortable and see if it still really works for them. Go and try us out.
May I have your attention, please?
Welcome to Accounting High. It's freshman year at a brand new school. Here, we have no rules in place as we're on a mission to set our own traditions. So hang tight and learn with us as we grow. At Accounting High, you can expect to gain knowledge in a completely different way than what you may be used to, with some fun and oftentimes colorful conversations. Whether you loved high school or you hated it, here's your chance to be a part of an unforgettable experience redone. While you're here, don't forget to follow us on Spotify or subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may be listening to us right now so you don't miss out on any new episodes. And feel free to leave us a 5-star review letting us know how the school year is treating you. In addition, share this episode on social media, tagging us at Accounting High. So sit back, relax, and open your mind because class is in session.
I repeat, may I have your attention, please?
This is another public service announcement brought to you in part
by Accounting High.
The views and events expressed here are
of the next generation of accounting and tech professionals leading this space.
The events and suggestions are not to be taken lightly. Children should not partake in the listening
of this podcast.
Anything else?
Yeah. So without further ado, introducing the star of our show,
Scotty and David Leary.
We're gonna have a problem here.
class is in session. David Leary, thank you for joining me. Finally gracing us with his presence.
I was waiting for the rebrand to come on the podcast.
We got the rebrand. We're in it. We're at Accounting High.
Thanks for having me. And we're not just at Accounting High. We're at CPA Engage.
At
we
the
are
Earmark booth.
Earmark mobile recording studio made possible by QuickFee. So now we got all that sponsor shout-out stuff out of the way. We ready to jump in?
He's smart.
I
He knows what he's doing.
I didn't want to get into a 4-hour interview, which we could totally do, Scott. So I capped you. I said, we're only going to talk about one thing today.
Okay. And this is the prelude or the prequel to your 4-hour interview. So today we're going to be talking about the Clue Train Manifesto. And I'm going to need you to explain to me why we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
And what it is.
So the Clue Train Manifesto was a manifesto created in 1999. So it's like 24 years old now.
Okay.
And I actually didn't discover it until probably 2002, maybe sometime in there. Maybe 2003. I don't know.
Wait,
I'm
you say
old
it's
now. 24 years old.
Wow.
And it's before social media. It's just when the internet was just barely, people were starting to talk to each other in very rapid rates because of the internet, right?
Yep.
So pre-social media, pre-anything else. And it's a book, and it's this 95 thesis, right? That in the concept high at a high level are markets or conversations. And discovering this, like, changed my life a lot.
Yeah.
When I think about products and communities and promotion and marketing and all those types of things. And I'll rewind a little bit. And I was kind of open to the idea. So I'm going to take a time machine back. So early, I don't want to get into the 3-hour version of the story, but early in my career, I started doing tech support for QuickBooks. So I did 5 years of tech support.
Was it Intuit or was it QuickBooks?
All QuickBooks.
Okay.
QuickBooks. So I did QuickBooks DOS, QuickBooks Windows, floppy diskettes, the whole thing up through CD-ROMs, the first network QuickBooks,
What year
did
was
all
this?
those. 96.
So this is 3 years pre-manifesto?
Yes, pre-manifesto. Yes, pre-manifesto. And then, so it actually tells me when I discovered it, it might have been closer to like 2006 or 2007. So anyways, I took 5 years of phone calls. Then I got into quality assurance. Right? I was doing quality assurance work. And then I eventually got into the payroll team. I was on the payroll team for tech support. So I knew payroll up and down, left, right. And then eventually I was on the payroll team for quality assurance. And I went back to the call center and listened to phone calls I was taking. And 10 of the 11 phone calls were the same call I took a decade before.
Interesting.
And I went to my manager and I went, holy everything we're doing is wrong. And it was like, I had a George Costanza moment. You know when George Costanza is like, I'm going to be the anti-George?
Yeah.
That's what my moment was like. I was like, everything we do is wrong. Like, shame on me, shame on everybody at Intuit, shame on every product manager. We're not fixing anything. Like, it's completely ridiculous. So I said, the next project I do, I'm doing everything opposite of anything I've ever done before at Intuit. And the next project I did, I built View My Paycheck, and we can go down that path and what that was.
And that was the intention of the Seinfeld episode, was he was going to do everything opposite as his instinct.
Every instinct I have in every aspect of life, be it something to wear, something to eat, it's up and wrong.
Tuna on toast, coleslaw, cup of coffee.
Yeah. No, wait a minute. I always have tuna on toast. Nothing's ever worked out for me with tuna on toast. I want the complete opposite of tuna on toast. Chicken salad on rye, untoasted, with a side of potato salad and a cup of tea.
Yes. So at that time, I started doing everything the opposite, and right around then, oh my gosh, what's the startup book?
What's the
Lean Startup, the book Lean Startup. So right around then, like, Twitter was coming to market. You had this, like, Web 2.0 was just starting to come to market. People were communicating, different ways to market. You had Lean Startup, rolling out products was different, right? It was just starting to get really, really lots of legs. And a lot of the Lean Startup book, I'm actually in the appendix of the book.
Oh, wow.
But the Lean Startup book.
That's David's claim to fame, everybody.
Yeah, I'm not. My project is. My paycheck's in there. But the where I'm going with this is actually good. On my podcast, I try to be more succinct, but I can ramble a little bit more on yours. I feel free. I feel free.
I live for the ramble.
So I was doing a lot of the stuff in the Lean Startup book because it was the opposite of what I was doing before.
Okay.
Right? It was, so instinctively. So then I discovered the Clue Train Manifesto around the same time. So I was experimenting with ideas. Maybe that's a way to think about it.
Ooh, okay.
I was open to things.
You're a big ideas guy.
And so I discovered the Clue Train Manifesto, and I fell in love with it. And to this day, I go to the website a lot. I read the 95 Thesis. I recognize all the companies and marketing people and PR people that need to get a clue.
Yeah.
And that's why they called it Clue Train Manifesto. So I was like, Scott, let's just talk about that.
I got a 95 thesis, but a clue ain't one. Right?
You could do a whole rap on this.
I could.
You could do
there's definitely enough copy in here for a rap.
Yeah.
There's bars on this, and then we're going to go over some of these bars. It's...
Do you want to read
who wrote
them?
it? Well, no, we don't want to read them all. That's a lot.
Well, it's like a manifesto, right?
But
who wrote it isn't
contributed toward
important. I don't even some dudes. I don't know their names.
Okay,
That's
it's sort of like the blockchain
manifestos.
guy, where it's the some acronym or some like fake person.
I'm sure it's on the website, but you think for obsessed I am with this, I would actually know who wrote it.
Yeah.
But I don't think they care because it's not about them. It's about, okay, it looks like Levine, Locke, Searles, and Weinberger. It's like 4 guys. I think they were engineers and product leaders at companies.
Because typically when I see manifestos, I know that Jason Fried has one that they use for what's Jason Fried's
37
company?
Signals or Basecamp, that guy.
Basecamp, yeah. And again, it was written by a team of developers that was their manifesto, or that was their. This would be the team of people that see the future or that are projecting, right, what their vision of the future is. Is that right?
It's not so much their vision of the future. It was really like, so this is 1999, and this is like what was happening because of the internet. And because it's happening, everything changed on how corporations and companies and organizations and humans in the market interact, right? And so the very first one is markets are conversations. Right? And I've always felt like that. And this is what I love about the podcast and different points of view. Like there's not this one direction of everything. There's always 2 sides of the coin. And it's not a one-way, like, here's our cup of coffee, buy it, right?
And that's entirely different than the model we were taught based on the news outlets and the news where it's top-down, funneled in from the one source. This is more decentralized. And this is about everybody being part of the conversation.
The internet enabled this.
Yeah.
You could communicate. Yeah. Before it was top-down, television, whatever's on TV at that time.
From the
you
networks.
Had to take, right? Now, it's people talking to each other.
Yeah.
It's not a one-way communication. So the second thesis is markets consist of human beings, not demographic sectors.
Okay.
Right? You're not like, oh, you're a white male, age 29 to 24. No, you're a person. You're Scott.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're all unique. So what's the difference then? What is this saying that traditionally in regular media or what was in the past? How is this different?
Well, if I read the next 3, it kind of answers your question here, right? So number 3 is conversations among human beings sound human. They are connected in a human voice. Number 4, whether delivering information, opinions, perspective, dissenting arguments, or humorous asides, the human voice is typically open, neutral, uncontrived. 5, people recognize each other from the sound of this voice. Number 6, the internet is enabling conversations among human beings that were simply not possible in the area of mass media. And this is kind of answering your question. When everybody just watched the TV, you were just sitting there, not communicating as a human.
Sure.
And now the internet, so this is again, pre-social media, they recognized what was happening.
This is pre-AI too, because now you can make AI sound like a human, and all of those things could be false because you could still have a computer being generated as a human with a human voice. So I thought this was some sort of AI thing or pre-AI thing. And this has nothing to do with AI.
No, nothing to do with AI at all. It's really about humans, ultimately, right? Number 7, hyperlinks subvert hierarchy.
Okay.
Right? Everybody can link to each other and they just bypass the man in charge.
Which is like dark social now.
Maybe. Yeah.
You don't need the same advertising channels that you once did, because those conversations are being had in Slack groups or outside of the traditional top-down information highway.
Yeah. Or, nobody talks about inter-network markets, right? And inter-networked employees. So people are having conversations. It's no longer the boss that's having the conversation and telling people what to do. The employees are talking to each other.
Yeah.
Right? Without the boss.
Right.
And that never happened until email.
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen, but not in the same way, right?
So we have no more barriers to our communication methods now. I think we have too much communication now. That's a whole nother topic. But we have way too many ways that we can communicate with people. People DM me on LinkedIn or Twitter, as you were saying to me the other day, like, I can't DM you on Twitter. I think I have that off intentionally.
Just to me, I'm blocked.
No, it's not you. I don't think anybody can. Yeah. But it's also like, I don't go on Slack anymore. There's so many different ways people can communicate. Yeah. And we end up saying so much to each other all the time that nobody's really listening to anything anybody's saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but so this is like number 9, right? These network conversations are enabling powerful new forms of social organization and knowledge exchange to emerge. This is you having a podcast.
Yeah.
You communicating with people. People on these other forums. Ideas in clubs and organizations and associations. These couldn't happen before in the same way they're happening now, right? And as a result of this, people are smarter. They're more informed. They're more organized.
I mean, it's what you guys are doing with Earmark. You've got the unheard voices and the unspoken voices of the profession that are now sharing their beliefs, their podcasts out with everybody. You're decentralizing the way communication is happening.
Or education, right?
Or education is happening, yes.
You couldn't do this pre-internet. Now you have this network. Now anybody can talk to each other about stuff. Well, now it evolves. Let's get deeper into product, right?
Okay.
So you got 11 and 12, right? 11. People in network markets have figured out a way to get far better information and support from one another than from vendors. Think about YouTube. You need help with QuickBooks or Xero? You go watch a video on YouTube. You get the help. You bypass the company entirely, right?
These are those communities, like you were saying earlier, like the products communities, the communities are sharing amongst each other, text, Twitter.
Yeah. And then once people do this, it fundamentally changes them. When's the last time you called tech support? You always go to YouTube first, right?
Or like what I've seen you do in the past is you will tag somebody on Twitter and that's your tech support call.
Yeah,
if something's not working, you'll go in the Twitter and you get the quickest response.
Knows it. Yeah, you go to the network, right?
You get the quickest response from them by going to the public with the issue.
Yeah. And then we get to 12, which is my favorite, right? This builds right on that. There are no secrets. The network market knows more about companies and their products than the actual companies do themselves. And if it's good news or bad news, they tell everybody.
So that piggybacks on the first one. Markets are conversations, and these conversations are being had whether they are part of it or not, and they need to be part of the conversation as well and not control the conversation.
Yes. You must have read the rest of the thesis. Like, you're getting it. Exactly. Because so many companies, and I see this with apps. I mean, we're here in the expo hall at Engage 2023. And there's, over here, 40 booths, 50 booths. And then on that part of the hall, there's another 50, all these apps. And I've seen this on product development and companies. They think they know more about the problem and the product than the people they're building it for. And it's the exact opposite, especially with accountants. And I tell this to app developers all the time. Accountants know more about your product than you do and your team do, and they haven't even used your product because they've used 40 of your competitors, and I guarantee you nobody at your company has used 40 of the competitors' products. And so the accountants know what's going to work, not going to work, what's going to suck in your app before they even use it. Why? Because network. They've talked to each other, right? But the opposite. Now maybe your app is amazing and it solves a bunch of problems. Guess what? You get the other side of that benefit. So it's a double-edged sword, good or bad. But if you don't, and then maybe the way to think about this, if you don't embrace that as the truth and you try to fight that, you can't be successful. You have to be like, okay, I agree. They know more than me. Then how do I operate in that environment? It's a reality.
You have to accept your reality and how to operate in your reality rather than fight against it.
Yeah, and a lot of companies, you'll see this all the time, fight against the it's a
not everybody can be Steve Jobs and have a reality distortion force field. Not everybody can do that. There's only one Steve Jobs in every generation.
And then if you think about inside the company, right? So even though the market's talking like this, inside companies, especially bigger companies, the employees, it's happening with employees.
Okay.
Right? Employees will figure out a process at a company and create a workaround something or do something without even telling managers. And they'll just bypass the hierarchy of management because the network allows them to do these types of things, right?
Yeah. They could be enabled to do that. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. I want you to read 14, though, as we move on to this.
All right.
Right. You
pull up 14. I got it.
And
So
put your
14's
Scott voice in there.
Corporations do not speak in the same voice as these new networked conversations. To their intended online audiences, companies sound hollow, flat, literally inhuman. Ooh, this interesting that you brought that one up, because I am learning now as I'm trying to build a brand that's not me, that people don't really necessarily connect with Accounting High as the brand. They want to connect with a person and somebody they can relate to. And that's part of this.
Fully agree. When you did video games? Did video games?
Yeah.
So there's an Xbox Live, and they had an advantage. This is where evangelism comes in, right? There was a guy called Major Nelson, and Xbox Live would go down, it would crash, there's problems, but everybody on Twitter would go to Major Nelson. They didn't go to the Microsoft official status page. There was a person, and then same when I was in Intuit and the developer team. People didn't love Intuit Developer. They loved me. And because of that, they eventually loved Intuit Developer.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people want to connect
You
with
were the
another
evangelist.
human first.
Yeah.
Another human first. And just like you said, they want to connect to you, and because of you, they're going to love Accounting High.
Yeah.
Right? You connect through that way.
Yeah, you can, and that's really important too, because at a certain point, companies can. I don't know why I keep going back to Jobs, but that's basically what happened with Apple. People now connect with Apple as if it's a living, breathing human because they have built a brand bigger than Jobs, and Disney too, bigger than Walt. But those were two people that changed the entire world. So, most corporations are not Disney and Apple.
Yeah. And 16 and 17 are kind of interesting, right? Because it starts getting into a little bit more ads and how companies are trying. Now that we've established in the first 15, what is this market like, right? This networked market. What is it like? Well, now's the next chunk of these are dealing with companies that don't know how to deal with it, right? So 16, companies that speak the language of the pitch, the dog and pony show, are no longer speaking to anyone.
Ooh.
They're the megaphone and nobody's listening, right? And 17, companies that assume online markets are the same markets that used to watch their ads on television are kidding themselves.
Okay, so back to 16.
Yeah.
That's when somebody immediately tunes out the message when they know they're being preached to, and they know that this is a canned message that they're being sold to. Yes. Accountants do not like being sold to.
Yeah.
We want to learn. We want to touch and feel it and learn. And again, we want to learn from our peers. So I'm going to bring up how my ads are running now. The way we do our ads now is we're generating them from users through conversations with the users about the product that they're using. And that's, I think, is the
markets are conversations.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the very first thesis.
Well, I get it. I love this. I can see why this is resonating with you so much, because you live and breathe this. This is part of what you guys have been doing with your brands.
Well, I've been doing this since, I had my George Costanza moment. This is in everything I've done, Intuit,
you intuitively went a certain direction, and then you have to fight that intuition.
Yeah, but this is where it's at. Yeah, I love 20 is great, right? Companies need to realize that their markets are often laughing at them.
Really?
Which is true.
It is true. And do they have to laugh with them? Do companies need to be part of the joke and a part of the conversation?
Well,
because that does happen.
Read 21.
Getting a sense of humor. Ooh, yeah. Getting the sense of humor does not mean putting some jokes on the corporate website. Rather, it requires big values, humility, straight talk, and genuine point of view. Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, and in 21, that was 22, but 21 was companies need to lighten up and take themselves less seriously.
Oh.
They need a sense of humor, right?
Yeah, that's actually that would have played better, but both of them too.
Yeah.
They need a sense of humor. Take yourselves less seriously. So this was my mission in life. I always used to say, why does everyone take themselves so seriously? Everything in business was always so serious. Yeah. And my whole perspective on this, which was just recently now part of my purpose and part of my whole manifesto, or the way I want to be, is I want everything to be fun and funny. And it's going to be educational. We're going to learn from it. You got to start light. You can't take yourself that seriously. If you take yourself too seriously, nobody's going to take you seriously.
Yeah.
You can become a big joke anyway.
Yeah. And then 25 is a great one of my favorites as well. Companies need to come down from their ivory towers and talk to the people with whom they hope to create relationships. I, over and over again, would be in situations and back it into it, and an engineer, like, I don't talk to customers. That's what customer support's supposed to do. Or product manager.
This is AICPA. They're in their ivory tower. I know we're here, but I don't think they're listening because they're not listening. That's the point. Oh, there's money on the floor.
It's fake money. It's fake money, Scott.
Man,
We just lost the whole
was this
podcast.
you? Did you do
got
this?
derailed. I did not put the fake
I
money
saw
on the floor.
more $100 bills. Did you do that?
I think Acre did that.
That is smart.
We almost lost the whole podcast. Scott's
I love
knocked
it.
the table over
I'm
looking at fake
following the money, dude. That's my job.
But like, I'd have product managers. They're like, don't give the customer my email address. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, talk to your customers, man.
Yeah.
Talk to your customers, and maybe you can really, like, and this goes like the CPA, right? Like, I know,
dude. They
show us surveys of the members. Like, do you talk to the members? What's the survey results? Like, there's conversations happening, right? Like, there's just stuff like that. I'm sure they do some surveys, but I don't want to. But I see this over and over again, right? The other one, 26. Public relations do not relate to the public. Companies are deeply afraid of their markets. See, people don't want to talk to the market and they don't want to be in the conversation because chances are, what is the conversation generally going to contain? A big fat spoon of truth.
Yeah, and
nobody
they're afraid
wants to
of hearing the truth.
Yeah.
They don't participate in the conversation because they want to dictate how the conversation goes.
Yeah. And then they
want to talk at somebody, not with somebody.
And 27 addresses that. What happens when they do that? By speaking in a language that is distant, uninviting, arrogant, they build walls and keep markets at bay.
Okay.
Right? And then you wonder why maybe people's memberships don't get renewed on certain things or they cancel things, right?
Right.
Most marketing programs are based on the fear that the market might see what's really going on inside the company.
Oh, so they're operating everything based on it's privileged knowledge, and we have this curtain that you're not going to see behind. This is the Wizard of Oz type.
Yeah, right. We're going to only let you see what we want you to see, right? Which is old
And
school
it's an
mentality.
illusion, yeah.
And you can't do that anymore.
No.
Right? Because now you have employees that
transparency now.
Employees post anonymously on Glassdoor and they post on other things or they back channels, which never existed before. I tell you, like 29. You could do 29 here, Scott.
Elvis said, "We can't go on together with suspicious minds." Ooh.
Right? Like, because if a company's putting it out there where they don't trust the market, they don't trust what they say, they're afraid of what they're going to say, what do you think you're going to be like with that company? You're going to be very suspicious of that company. Maybe you don't want to do business or use that app in your firm or wherever it might be. 34, to speak with a human voice, companies must share the concerns of their communities. 35, but first, they must belong to a community.
Is that companies starting their own community of users? Because we're seeing that happen more. Communities of users that are powering and dictating the conversation, well, not dictating the conversation, but they're starting the conversation and the company is having the conversation with them. What did we do when we went to Italy? We all were talking on an app that they built as a community that everybody was, there was no filtered in there at all. This was, we talked about this on your show. They built a chat app that people are having conversations on within the app.
Yes.
And this is saying belong to a community. They're creating a community.
Yeah. And then, and ultimately though, like if you think about it, if the company creates the community and manages the community and provides technology for the community, are they really...
If they give the community a voice.
Are they, but they tend to manage that community. So I think sometimes when companies are creating communities, it's really just them not actually participating. They're trying to control the participation. They're trying to control the participation versus enabling it, right? And so instead of belonging to a community, they're trying to, we're going to create the community. And then if you create something, what does that really mean? Control. Right?
Accounting Salon's a community.
Accounting Salon's a community.
And Accounting Salon, the apps are invited to be part of the conversation. They're not invited to talk down to everybody or speak to them. They're there to talk with them. Last night I was invited to an ADP dinner or a cocktail hour. And the only reason they invited everybody was so we could have conversations. No agenda, just open conversations and just talk. And I thought that was the right move. That's what we're talking about here, is they want to be part of the conversation unapologetically. They know that people have criticism for their company and they want to hear it. Yeah. They're open to hearing it and they're open to changing. And I think that's a sign of maturity in a market. That's people taking to this.
Yeah.
And this manifesto.
And then a bunch of the next ones get a little about internal communications at companies, organizations, but I think 52 is a really good one. Paranoia kills conversation. That's its point. But the lack of open conversation kills companies.
Yeah.
Because at companies, there's two conversations happening, right? You have the one inside the company, and then there's the one with the market.
It's the one that people are really saying, and the one that's the same one that they're ignoring, and they're trying to ignore the problem. It'll go away if we don't talk about it.
Yeah, you got what? Like pull wool over people's faces or put lipstick on the pig. There's all these analogies, right? You can put all these in your raps, right? We should have ChatGPT up there and give us a bunch of these lists, right? Those types of things.
We'll do it in post.
And then 57 is a good one. Smart companies will get out of the way and help the inevitable to happen sooner, right? So there's companies...
Getting out of your own way. That was the theme of my last conversation with Blake.
Well, you and your own firm.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Care to elaborate? What have I done in my firm?
You got out of the way.
I got out of everybody's way. And now I'm in my own way with my podcast. I got to get out of my own way here. So we all need to recognize this. I think any company and any person listening to this, start looking at getting out of your own way, because that's one of the biggest unlocks that I found in my life in general. You are the bottleneck, and companies are their own worst enemy sometimes. And what got them here, what got them to that place, isn't going to get them to the next place. It's not going to take them over the next mountain that they're trying to climb. So even a lot of these companies that are controlling the message, it's because they were successful at what they were doing in the past, and they're not ready to adapt too. Yeah, these are larger, more established companies.
Yeah, and you better get a clue, or you're going to lose everything, right?
Clue Train.
Clue Train. And then what's another good one?
This is suicidal. Markets want to talk to companies.
Yeah, they want to have a conversation. They don't want you just to talk to them. It's back and forth, right? And then some companies kind of get this. I can think a good example is QuickBooks has like a button in their app for feedback. And they get 70, 80, 90, 100,000 pieces of feedback from accountants through this button, right? They're letting people talk to them, right? And then now they've gotten better at communicating, like, hey, look, we got all your feedback. We fixed some of these things you told us about, right? Some of that. I like 67. As markets, as workers, we wonder why you're not listening. You seem to be speaking a different language.
Ooh.
Right?
You're talking, but you're not listening.
Yeah. 69 is good. And 69 is like relevant today as it ever has been. Maybe you're impressing your investors. Maybe you're impressing Wall Street. You're not impressing us. And we've seen this with apps, right? How many apps have like all the buzzwords to raise money? They raise lots of money, but at the end, nobody like loves their app.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're not changing either. They're still stuck in their own ways and their worldview. They're not listening to their customers. In a lot of cases, they all want to be Steve Jobs and they think they know best. But the key is you got to listen to the customers and have that conversation with them.
Yeah. What else are good ones? If you want us to pay, we want you to pay attention. That's a really...
Okay, so I was about to bring up the attention economy that we're in now. It's not an information economy anymore. We're not paying for the information, and we're not, we can give away all the information. We can give away all the free CPE that you need, whatever you want. All of that's decentralized now. Giving away the information, talking about the information, the conversations in the communities, it's all very decentralized, and it's not coming from a top-down source. That source is not your source of information anymore. Our information is coming at us from the social networks, from the communities, and everybody has the power. Just like you said in one of the earlier numbers, me having a podcast, you having a podcast, we're part of that conversation, and we're creating an open dialogue. It's not about the networks feeding you the information you need and then also charging for that attention that they already command, that they already have. Right now, everybody is competing just for a couple of minutes of your attention. It is so hard for me to get people to watch a 4-minute music video now. And that's 4 minutes. Like 4 minutes. We don't have that amount of time. People are going to last 30 seconds, 20 seconds, if that. Attention is the hardest thing to grab. If you can get them to listen to an hour show, that's incredible. That's amazing. but you have to have conversations about that, and it has to be real and authentic. And I think that's what this has been saying throughout all of these theses.
Well, yeah, it's the authenticness, right?
Yeah.
You just can't pretend to have a community or pretend to have a conversation just because you got a social channel or a Facebook feed or a Twitter handle, and that you see companies do this all the time.
Everybody sees it a mile away if you're not being authentic.
Whatever it is, I'm taking a plane flight today. I'm like, Southwest Airlines, my flight's been delayed 6 times or whatever. My flight's been canceled. And these companies, instead of conversing with you, what do they say? First, they reply back with this other handle like Southwest Cares. And that says, please DM me. It's like to have the conversation where the conversation's happening. If I message you there, reply to the message and have the conversation publicly. Why do I got to go to a DM to have the conversation?
Well,
doesn't make any sense.
So this is an example of them being their own worst. I'm glad you brought up Southwest because they were always known for their best service. They were the shining star of the airlines as we're going to let you be the customer.
They were humans.
They were humans.
Used to be humans.
They used to be humans. Now they're their own worst enemy.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about
victim of their own success.
No, this is even better, right? It was Herb, right?
Yeah.
So when they were with Herb, it was all about the heart and they're humans. Everybody's humans. But now Southwest is ran by you know who?
Who?
Accountants. You know this, right? You know this.
Oh, this is the punchline.
This is the worst part of it all. Yeah, Southwest sucks. They suck at giving customer service now.
Yeah.
Because they're not ran by humans; they're run by accountants.
They're run by the numbers. We have lessons to be learned here. This sparks a whole nother side of this conversation too, because as accountants, are we listening to our customers? Are we having conversations with them, or are we talking about them and about, the survey or the organizer that they didn't fill out, or the information that they didn't get to us, or this or that? Like, a lot of accountants, they complain about their customers, and their customers are their worst enemy.
I did a talk yesterday about client experience here or Monday at the CPA Engage, and because I got fired from a firm, and now I'm a client of accounting firms, and I interact with accounting firms. It's not the experience sucks, but it's not the people. All my interactions with the people have been fine. But it's
the technology.
It's the technology and all these things. But what does everybody do at firms? Solve processes to avoid talking to people. Even more. Like, we're going to create this digital organizer. We're going to send this PDF. I'm going to put an autoresponder on my emails.
Everything.
I'm not going to talk to them on email. I don't want them having my phone number. All these things to avoid talking to clients exist. When really it's maybe the opposite, where it's like, I'm going to figure out how to talk to clients more. Right? But yes, accounting firms are building systems to not talk to clients.
Yeah, our one of the things that all my team has to track. So the things that we measure are the things that we can improve, but they're also the things that are leading indicators of what we say. So they have to track how many client conversations they've had in that week. And if they've had less than 5, then they haven't done their job.
Yeah.
And that's been pretty consistent for the last couple of years. And that's why we never have any customer issues, because they're clearly communicating and they're always having a conversation with them, because it's always about the relationship. Ron Baker talks about this. A lot of us talk about, we're selling relationships.
Yeah.
We're not selling a tax return or your books or CAS. We're not selling any of that. We're building a relationship and relationship comes communication, comes conversations. So our market is a conversation. And I think that's a good place to, do we have any more that we want to?
I think we can wrap up with this last one. We can finish on this one.
We're not rushing you, Dave.
No, there's no rush. So this is number 89. And maybe this is the big takeaway for accountants and bookkeepers in any organizations and when they deal with apps and when they communicate with companies. We have real power and we know it. If you don't quite see the light, some other outfit will come along that is more attentive, more interesting, and more fun to play with.
Ooh.
And I could even think, like, right around this time is when Xero came to market. At that time, QuickBooks was not listening to the market, right? And Xero came and they were more fun to play with. Right now, Intuit re-steered the ship, et cetera, with QuickBooks, but that's a whole nother story.
A lot of us know this story. You're part of the story.
Yeah, this is it. Like, all of you have power with these companies, and if these companies suck, you don't have to work with them. There are other businesses that will come in and fill that market need and communicate with you better.
I love that. I love that it came around to that zero moment too. Because I always say everything started with ground zero for me. Every connection and every person I know in this whole profession, even you and Blake was one of the first zero users.
Yep.
A lot of
in
us,
the US or whatever,
this core group of people that I know, all stem from that ground zero, and zero awoke the sleeping giant. And Intuit is the only player in the space now. Nobody get confused here. Zero has a percentage of the market, very small sliver. QuickBooks, when I saw the QuickBooks Connect this year, that's proof of the impact that they're having on the profession. Like, they have fans, they have zealots that Zero used to have. That used to be Zero. I'm seeing it die off with Zero, and a lot of Zero users are now going to Intuit. They've got some longevity, and that's because they are having conversations with their users. Now, it used to be a top-down thing.
Yeah.
Intuit knew best, and some people are still cynical about it and think that it's still just a play. Like, whenever they do need to command the attention, they get it, and then they go off and do their own thing anyway. I don't know the details. I'm not a big follower of it, but I do think that they have adapted pretty well since they were awoken.
So I'll let you read 95 now that you said awoken, because it just ties right in, and we can figure out how to close this down.
So we are waking up and linking to each other. We are watching, but we are not waiting. We are not waiting. What are we watching?
I don't know, Scott. But this is 1999.
Yeah.
And it's still relevant today because it's amazingly 24 years later, companies continue to not get out of their own way and cannot participate in the conversation properly. Companies and organizations that are on these marches of, they just can't change.
You heard it here first, folks. David Leary says, get out of your own way and you'll be free. Markets are conversations. Thank you for joining me. David Leary, class dismissed.